Hey guys, I hope you are having an awesome day. I hope your week is starting off really well. We have had so much fun over the last few days chatting about succulents and propagation and just seeing all of the excitement coming in with our course launch. So in case you haven't noticed, we currently have the Successfully Propagating Succulents course open for enrollment. It'll be open until Tuesday next week at 11 Pacific time, so 11 p.m. So if you want to get in and join the propagation course, in there I'm teaching you how to propagate from seeds, from leaves, from cuttings, and from offsets. And there's the information is all ready to go in there. There's videos that you can watch and some PDFs that you can download. And then I'm also going to be adding a few updates to the course over the next year as I keep propagating my succulents. So I have some seeds started, I have some leaves started, and I'm going to be showing the updates in those within the course, and then also helping you guys get your succulent propagation going so that you can grow more succulents, hopefully for free or for super, super cheap. Like with seeds. And actually, that reminds me, if you purchase the course either today or tomorrow before midnight Pacific time, you'll also get a set of 100 Sempervivum seeds that I will mail you, international shipping included. So that'll be really fun because I have grown, not these exact seeds obviously because I'm going to send them to you, but seeds from this same supplier. I have grown these already, so I know that they work and that they're actually Sempervivum seeds. So that's going to be really fun, and we can all start them together. It'll be great. So if you want to join the course, just head on over to succulentsandsunshine.com/propagate, or the link is also in the description. But today, what I want to do is answer questions that you guys have about propagating succulents from leaves. So there's been a ton of people posting about propagating from leaves. Now is a great time to do it since it's in the spring, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I have a few questions, and then as you guys are listening, if you have questions that you want me to answer after that, go ahead and let me know, and I'll try and keep an eye on the comments and respond to those. So this will be fun. Okay, so the first question we actually answered on Saturday's Q&A session, but I want to just touch on it really quick because I keep seeing it pop up. So if your succulent leaves get mushy and they don't have roots, is it a goner? The short answer to this is yes, most likely. So anytime you see a leaf that is starting to get really blackened and mushy and oozy, I think was the word I kept using on Saturday, or if they're also like transparent and yellowy and just kind of mushy, gross looking, they are probably not going to work out. And usually that is from the leaf not being healthy in the first place. So it might look okay and be healthy on the plant, but then as you pull it off and it has to survive on its own, it might not actually have any requirements necessary to stay alive. So yeah, black and mushy, probably not gonna make it. And then the next question that I want to talk about, this one also gets asked a lot, and I feel like it's actually probably one of the trickiest parts about propagating succulents from leaves. So the question was, I have a batch of succulents that I started propagating almost 2 years ago, and they are still little baby succulent sized. They are all propagated from leaves, all from the same host plant. Is there something I can do to help them grow more quickly, or is it just a very long process? So the answer is both. So propagating from leaves does take a while. However, one of the things that makes it tricky is there's this transition period where they're just this cute little baby plant, and then pushing them into becoming a bigger plant, a fully grown plant. So the trick to getting them past that point, to getting them bigger and to being a fully grown plant, is actually giving them more water. So with leaves and propagation in general, those little baby plants need a lot more water than their adult counterparts because they don't have a really strong root system and they don't really have very big leaves to draw all the nutrients and water from in the event of a drought. So with succulent leaves and with seeds, even with cuttings, when you're first starting the cuttings, you want to make sure that you're giving them, sorry, flies. make sure you're giving them plenty of water. So for those that are 2 years old and still little baby succulents, what I would recommend doing is making sure that their roots are covered, for one. And I go back and forth. I have propagated succulents on bonsai jack soil, and in the long run, that's what I want mine to be growing in. However, I have found that I tend to have more success when I'm propagating leaves in coconut coir, which looks similar to like a peat moss based soil, but it doesn't have the problems that peat moss tends to have with it. So peat moss will repel water when it's dry, and coconut coir won't do that for the most part unless it's been like really, really, really compressed. But if you're growing in it, it usually isn't that compressed. So I recommend propagating on coconut coir and covering up those roots. And that's one of the other reasons why I like it, is because it's actually hard to cover the leaves or the roots of a baby leaf with the bonsai jack soil, because the particle size is big, which is great for full grown succulents. That's what you want. But for the little babies, it's hard to get those roots covered. So I would recommend just covering it with coconut coir, and then making sure that that is staying damp. So not like soaking wet, but just damp. There's some water in there, and that way the baby and the leaves, the roots, can pull that water as needed, because they will need more. Especially after 2 years, I would say you're also okay to go ahead and fertilize. So I use the manure tea fertilizer for my succulents that I propagate from leaves and from seeds. With seeds, you can also use, I believe it's Miracle Grow brand has a fertilizer called Quick Start, and that works really well to get your seeds a little boost. I haven't tried it with leaves, but it would probably work for leaves. But do go ahead and fertilize them. Just make sure, if you're not using the manure tea fertilizer, make sure whatever you're using is very diluted, because too much fertilizer can burn them. So, maybe dilute it half strength, quarter strength, somewhere along that line, whatever you feel comfortable with based on the fertilizer that you find. And just a balanced fertilizer is good, so all three numbers being equal. Yeah. All right, so the next question that we have, guys, these are good because these are all like really commonly asked questions for propagating from leaves. So the next question is, when do you transfer leaf cutting growths to their own container? Do you do it when they root, when they have new growth, and or when the new growth is a certain size? Do you just have to wait for the mother leaf to fall off? Just lay them on top of soil, cover portions in the dirt? So that's a lot of questions all in one. So let me kind of walk you through my process and what I recommend. So as far as transferring leaf cuttings, I highly recommend waiting until the succulents have a really good root system and have been growing on their own for a while. So this might mean that the mother leaf has died, although sometimes the mother leaf won't die for a long time, and sometimes not ever. But what you're looking for is just for a really established root system. And then I also prefer to work with succulents, the babies, that are around the size of a quarter, so about an inch in size, just because they're easier to handle. You're less likely to bump the leaves off, to knock them around as you're replanting, and they're just bigger, they're more established, so they can handle a little bit more stress. Wait for that plane to pass over. It's the beauty of living by an airport. There's always planes passing over. Fun for kids, less fun when you're recording video. Yeah, and so I can show you right now some leaves that I am propagating. Some of these are like really impressive. Actually, I'm gonna flip this around. Bloop. Okay, so right here we have this Kalanchoe copper spoons. This is another Kalanchoe copper spoons. So you can see these are pretty big, and there's a bunch of them on there. They don't have a very strong root system because they've been relying on the mother plant for so long. So with these, I honestly am going to leave them here until they get a stronger root system. I'm going to pull them up just so you can So you can see they only have like really itty bitty baby roots. And so to me, transplanting them means that you're putting them into a gritty mix that is ideal for succulents. So like the bonsai jack soil. And like I said, I prefer growing in this coconut coir and the air conditioning, sorry. I prefer growing in this coconut coir because it's really soft and it's really easy to cover the roots. Like you can see, these are all set down in there pretty well. So I'm going to wait for these to get bigger because they will also be more just stronger. And they'll just survive the transplant better. You don't have to wait for the mother leaf to fall off. But yeah, you just want to cover, when you do transplant them, you want to make sure that, again, the roots are covered with soil so that they stay out of the sun so they don't dry out as quickly, and they have better access to water because there's soil on top and below them. And if you're wondering what a black mushy leaf looks like, one that probably won't survive, this is it. See how it's just really nasty, doesn't look very good. It's starting to look oozy here, just gross. So that one, I'm gonna leave it because I just always leave stuff like that. But it will probably not do anything, so would probably be worth throwing away. Yeah, so that's what those are the leaves that I'm currently propagating. Some like those Kalanchoe copper spoons. They have probably been there, they've been growing for about a month or two. One of them's been growing for a month, the other one's been 2, I want to say. So you can see those have gotten really big, and part of it is because that succulent is also big. So you know, a smaller succulent, their babies are going to be smaller for longer, but I've also tried really hard to make sure that I'm watering consistently with those to make sure they're getting enough water. Okay, next question. And again, those of you who are on live, feel free to submit follow-up questions. I'm keeping my eye out for those so that I can answer. And sorry, if I'm looking down, it's because So, 11 p.m. That's fun. So if you want to get next question, and again, those of you who are on live, feel free to submit follow-up. That's fun. Okay, I'm trying to look at the comments and then yeah, get to hear myself. So fun. Okay, so really quick, sorry, I lost my questions, pulling them up. Oh, the beauty of being on live, it's so fun. Okay, volume turned down, that's what we want. Okay, so awesome. Oh, okay, Beatrice, thank you, and Linda, you're both on, but thank you for asking questions, that's fun too. So I'm gonna skip to Beatrice's question really quick, since you are on live, may as well answer yours. So how do I propagate donkey tail? So you can propagate donkey tail from leaves and also from cuttings. It works really, really well from both of those. And it also kind of does division, so a lot of times it will put off new like offshoots around the base of the plant, which I would consider an offset, and so then you can just divide those apart. If you cut off the top, it's also going to put off new rosettes, which means then you'll have, you know, new heads that you can again take cuttings from. So I have some right now, but they just look so sad. But let me show you, because I have don't try this at home. Well, you can, but okay, it is not gonna. Well, that is a donkey tail baby right there. This is shoot, I can't remember which one's burrito and which one's burro's tail. They're kind of the same, but this one's the pointy leafed variety. So it does really well from leaves. It's one of the plants that I recommend starting with if you're propagating from leaves, because it's so easy. So just gently remove the leaf. You want to try and get the full leaf off instead of breaking. Usually breaking doesn't, so this is, guys, I wish my phone would focus closer. No, you can't see, but this is a leaf that got broken, and it is surprisingly growing a new baby off the bottom. But the but generally it works best if you can like just gently twist and remove the whole leaf from the stem, and that will grow. So leaves, cuttings, they also bloom, and you could propagate them from seed. I personally feel like it's really difficult to harvest seeds, so I have not propagated seeds of my own. I have purchased seeds to propagate. I haven't paid attention to whether or not you could buy burrito or donkey tail from seeds, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. But they are so easy to grow from leaves and from cuttings. That's how I would recommend starting. So remove a little leaf, let it sit for 2 to 3 days, 4 or 5 even, just on like a dry counter, dry surface, and then put them on top of soil, start misting it every day, keeping the soil just damp and trying not to get water on top of the babies. If it gets on them, not a problem, but I just try and avoid it. So just trying to get mostly the soil damp. And then let it go. So, Teo just asked, do you treat the babies like any other succulent after they're detached from the mother leaf? Yes and no. You do want to water them and let them dry out in between, but because they are going to be right on top of the soil, they're not going to have a very deep root system. You're going to want to water them more frequently. And some of that will depend on how big the baby is when the mother leaf dies. So the bigger the plant is, the less frequently it will need water, just like all succulents. But essentially you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna water, and when that soil gets dry, water again. And like I said, with leaves where they're on top of the soil, that's probably gonna be every day or every couple days. At least until they get a really good established root system, and then you can cut back and water less. But once that mother leaf dies, it's all on you and the whatever roots they have grown. So they will need to take up more water from what's around them than when the mother leaf was attached. Oh guys, tripping over words, sorry. Okay, and then, let's see. Sorry, I just saw another question come through. Show me the comments, folks. All right, that doesn't want to work. Let's go here. Okay, and then Amanda just asked, is north-facing sun window okay to propagate? Or do they need more shade? Indoors, you can probably put them in the brightest, I would put them in the brightest window in your house. So if you're in the southern hemisphere, so all you Australia people, if you put them in the north-facing window, that's generally the brightest window. And then if you're in the northern hemisphere, so those of us in the United States or in the UK, if you put them in the south-facing window, that is generally the window that's going to receive the most sunlight. But east or west facing are also good as well. So just whatever is the brightest window for you, that is where I would put your plants. If they're indoors, it's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be, where was I going with that? It would be hard to sunburn your succulents indoors, unless maybe it's in a west-facing window in Arizona that becomes 120 degrees and gets crazy hot by the window. That would be the only time that I would say probably not to put them by the window. But even then, you can just move them away from the window a couple feet and they should be fine. Succulent leaves will do best if they are in a temperate climate. So anywhere from 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 80, maybe 90. At 90, I wouldn't put them outside in direct sun. Oh, Amanda, you just said you're in Florida, so it's super hot. Yeah, you could propagate them outside in the shade. That would be a good place to start. That's what I'm doing with my leaves here in Arizona, because it's already, we've had a couple days at 100 degrees already this month. And they've been doing just fine because they are in shade all day long. But it is pretty bright shade too. So outdoors, bright shade, avoid the direct sunlight, and avoid really intense heat. I'm going to have to keep an eye on mine during the summer when it does start getting above 100. And even right now, I'm paying pretty close attention because as it gets hotter, they're going to need more water because the soil's going to dry out faster. And then they're also just going to be more susceptible to burn and all of that because it's so hot. So heat exhaustion. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. That was a great question. Sherry, you just asked, when do you move them when do you move them to your own pot? So that is actually something that I answered at the beginning of the live, but I'm going to repeat again just because you're on. But I wait until they're about an inch in size and they have a really good, strong root system. Sometimes that means the mother plant has died, sometimes it doesn't, or the mother leaf. Sorry, I keep saying that. Sometimes that means the mother leaf has died, sometimes not. But I want mine to be like really well rooted and really established before I transplant them, because usually I'm moving them into like a gritty soil mix that it's harder to get the roots covered and the soil dries out faster. But go back and watch the replay because I gave a much more in-depth answer at the beginning. Oh, and Sherry just said too, I'm in SoCal and mine do great outside in bright shade. Yeah, perfect. That is, honestly, that's the ideal place to do it. Doing them inside works pretty well, but you also will start to notice some stretching a lot of times inside. And it's fine. Eventually, you know, you can put them in more light and they'll reduce the amount of stretching. But yeah, I would recommend, as long as it's not too hot, to do it too hot or too cold, then to do them outside in bright shade. So another question that we had, and this comes up a lot, if the leaf only has roots and no babies after a month or several months, should I just give up and toss it? I rarely throw things away. If you have taken like my Successfully Growing Succulents course or seen some of the lives I've done in the past, like I keep everything just to see what happens with it. But something that I learned with these baby leaves that only grow roots. So what we're talking about here is, let me see if I have one. Nope, no props today on that. But so here's like the leaf baby that I showed you before, right? So it has a little leaf growing and then it has a few roots on the bottom. I'm sorry that's so small. My phone doesn't focus closer, which is dumb. But if you're only getting roots, you're not getting a rosette or any type of growth, what I recommend doing is actually ripping off part of the roots. And what that does is it puts your succulent into stress mode. It puts that leaf into stress mode. So then it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Half of my roots just got ripped off. Like, what's going on here? And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that will cause it to put off, to grow a little baby. Sometimes it still just puts out roots. And sometimes that's just it. It won't ever do more. It'll just do roots. But a lot of times for me, that has then produced a little rosette and it started growing really well. And the great thing is then it has a really strong root system. So that's why I don't recommend pulling off all of the roots, just breaking off like half of them. And I break them off right at the leaf where they attach to the leaf, not just ripping part of the end off, but ripping them like away from that end where the leaves have been growing. So yeah, great question there too. Let's see, there was something mushy. The other thing that I think I mentioned a little bit on Saturday was if the leaf is completely shriveled up, like will it grow? I save mine until the very last chance, until they are like so dried up that they are definitely not going to grow more. 'Cause I don't know if you can tell with this one. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna see if we can. Yeah, no, guys, sorry. We'll work on that for next time. Maybe I'll get my camera out. So with this one is actually pretty like wrinkly and soft because it took it a really long time to grow roots. So it used up most of the juice that was in that mother leaf before it even put off roots. And that one actually doesn't have a rosette on it yet. It only has roots. So it's okay if they start to shrivel. That's a sign that they're like trying to stay alive, trying to do something. And they may or may not put off roots or a rosette, but they might. So you may as well wait till they're totally dried up. And kind of along that note, if you are propagating and you've put out a ton of leaves, it's totally possible that all of them will survive. But more likely, a lot of them will die. Like for me, it's usually about 50-50. And a lot of it depends on how healthy the mother plant was that you removed the leaves from. And so that goes back to what I talked about at the beginning, where if you start with a healthier leaf, you're a lot more likely to see results from the leaf propagation. Whereas if you're removing leaves from a plant that was maybe rotting or dying, like I said, still save them because you never know. You might still get a plant out of it. But it's very possible that the leaf will die. So healthier leaves, go figure, are a lot more likely to put off a new rosette. So guys, that is leaf propagation, and it is so much fun. We actually, my husband volunteers with our local scout group, and they were learning, I think they were doing something with like using a magnifying glass and looking at things up close. And so we took a bunch of leaf babies for all of them to look at under the magnifying glass. It was super fun and really cool. And it's just incredible to me that they grow from this tiny little leaf. It's awesome. So I highly recommend trying it if you haven't already. We talked about burro's tail, donkey tail, burrito. They're like sister plants. Anyway, those are one of the best for propagating from leaves. I'd highly recommend starting with those if you haven't tried propagating from leaves. They're usually really easy to do. Also, Graptopetalum paraguayans, or ghost plant is its common name, is another fantastic one from leaves. Sedum rubrotinctum, pork and beans, or aurora also grow well from leaves. And then my personal favorite is Fred Ives. Fred Ives is just great all around. It's beautiful. They're all beautiful, but it's really an awesome color and propagates really well from leaves. So those would be my recommendations for where to start. And then if you guys, like I said, if you want more help with propagating succulents, a couple options for you. One would be to join the Successfully Propagating Succulents course, which is open for enrollment until Tuesday next week. And if you join either tonight or tomorrow before midnight, so anytime between now and midnight tomorrow, if you sign up for the propagating course, then I will actually send you 100 Sempervivum seeds. And these are from a supplier that I know actually sends you succulent seeds. I know they're actually Sempervivums because I've grown them before. And that way you can get started with succulent seeds, because it's a little intimidating for some people. And we are doing international shipping on those. So grab the course. It's over at succulentsandsunshine.com/propagate. And then also be sure to join our next live video, which is on Thursday at the same time. So it'll be Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, right here in the Succulents and Sunshine Facebook community. Feel free to share it with a friend if you know someone who is getting ready to grow succulents or propagate. And then you can also catch the replays, because we did a live Q&A on Saturday, and we talked about a bunch of different types of propagation on Saturday. And that replay is live in the group. And then you can also go to succulentsandsunshine.com/FB-propagation. We'll put that in the description. And we'll have all the replays on the website there. So lots of ways to get help. Feel free to leave questions if you're watching the replay of this and you have a question that you want to get answered. Definitely leave a comment here. We'll either respond to it on the post, or we'll also cover it probably on Thursday in our Facebook Live, or Friday, or next Tuesday. So check out the events, because that's where all of the announcements will be for the live ones. So thank you guys so much for hopping on. Sherry, thanks for the book plug. I'm glad you love it. yeah, it's been fun to chat with you guys, and I will see you on Thursday.